Welcome, everyone. See everyone joining. We're going to get started in 2 minutes. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the first ever Flow Town Hall. My name is Andrea. I'll be your host today, but I won't be the one speaking most of the time because we have a ton of great speakers. We will get started right away because we have a really jam-packed agenda. Apologies if you join in a little later. The recording will be available. But we have so much to cover that we just are going to dive right into it. So a little high-level overview of what we're going to cover. Dete, the CTO of Dapper Labs and the chief architect of the Flow blockchain, is going to kick it off with the vision for Flow. Then we're going to recap the year around network and community growth. See also how the builders on Flow have been doing the past year, and also look at all of the key Flow technology milestones that we've covered over the last year and what's going to come up in 2023. And we're going to close off the town hall with some cool showcases. We have some community members who are going to share some awesome stuff. And also I want to note, this is not going to be a one-off town hall. We will be doing monthly town halls. The reason why this one is extra special is because it's the first one, and because it's the one that is, also closing off the year. So we're using it as an opportunity to recap the whole year. But starting from next month, we will be doing them monthly, and they're going to be more month to month, and we're going to have more room for community showcases. But yeah, welcome to the first ever one. And if you stick around until the end, you will also be able to claim a unique float NFT for participating. All right, without further ado, I will hand it over to Dete, who is not only the CTO of Dapper Labs and the chief architect of Flow, but also the co-creator of CryptoKitties and the author of the ERC 721 standard on Ethereum. So Dete, if you want to take it away.
Yeah, thanks so much, Andrea. Hey there, everyone. It is so exciting to talk to everyone today, to see all the people joining, and hello to all the people who joined in the last 30 seconds. I'm glad you're able to make it. The team asked me to present a little bit about the vision of Flow, and I mean, the vision is big, and they only gave me 5 minutes, so we'll see how much I can get through. One of the things that when people ask me why Flow, why did we build Flow, why did Flow need to exist? One of the first things I like to tell people is that The problem we were solving is that we were fundamentally an application development company, right? We had built CryptoKitties, we had signed the NBA license, we were looking at hitting a larger audience, and we wanted to build really interesting, complex, decentralized applications. And the problem we were solving when we built Flow wasn't we need to have a bunch of tokens to sell, it was we need a platform on which we can build applications. And so when people think about Flow, I want to make sure that they think about them through the problem we were trying to solve, which is as a platform for building, as opposed to trying to solve the problems of how do we get a protocol out into the world. And the three most important things that we kept coming back to when we were making design decisions about Flow was making sure that we were creating a great user experience or enabling the creation of great user experiences, making sure that we were creating incredibly powerful primitives for application developers to build non-trivial and interesting applications, and being true to that promise of decentralization. And I want to talk a little bit about each of those, right? When I talk about the core protocol and worrying about user experience, I think a lot of people are really confused. It's like, how do you design a programming language to make for better user experience? Or how do you design a computer hardware to make for better user experience? But I think that there are some core things that we've done in the protocol, a bunch of core things that we've done in the protocol that enable better user experiences that if we hadn't put them into the protocol, the UX would have necessarily been worse. And just as one simple example, I'll talk about the fact that keys and accounts are not one-to-one. You can cycle keys, you can add keys, you can remove keys, multiple keys on an account. And so that makes the user experience much better. I can have two devices, each with their own key into the same account. And that means I don't have to find a secure way to copy the key from one device to another. We added support for the NIST standard encryption schemes so that you can use the secure enclave in your mobile device and in modern laptops to hold your keys so that they have that extra layer of security without you having to go and buy a specific hardware device. And the list is very long of things that we did to make for a better user experience. We're going to work on sharing that list and going into some of those details in the next little while. When we talk about developer experience, that came directly from me, right? I was one of the 3 primary developers on CryptoKitties. I was one of the 3 primary developers on a project called Cheese Wizards that came out in 2019. Those were both very complex Solidity applications, and developing them was absolute hell. I hated every minute of it because the language, the tools, but most importantly, the programming model had so many limitations and so many sharp edges and ways that you could screw up without even realizing it. Code that looked natural could be wildly unsafe. And so when we were building Flow, we decided to take the risk of building a completely new programming language. And it's based on the idea of what we call resource-oriented programming. And if you've heard of Move, it's a very similar idea, but I'll be honest, I have looked at Move. Indeed, parts of Cadence are inspired by Move. And I think we take it to a completely next level. And I think that anybody who looks at both Move and Cadence would conclude that Cadence is a much more mature, a much more ergonomic language to work in. And so, but that's not the only decision we made in order to make developers' lives better, right? The emulator, which is very lightweight to do iterative development and testing. The whole mechanism that FCL works makes it easier for application developers to make sure that they're able to work with a wide variety of different wallet types without any without having a lot of complexity on their side. And so I think that we've done a really good job of making it powerful for the kinds of developers who want to build unique experiences. In all honesty, there are other blockchains that make it easier to do copycat experiences, right? But if you wanted to build something really unique, really different, that's differentiated by the smart contract on-chain logic, I think Cadence is by far your best choice. And of course, the third thing that we really care deeply about, and I think that it's one of the areas where people have the least understanding about Flow, is our focus on decentralization. I know Alex is going to talk a little bit about this later, but I think that our team has put so much thought into that aspect of it, and we've done so little talking about it, that I think that we don't, the people don't realize that the bones are there. And yes, it's absolutely true that today, to maintain security, we're very careful about who we let run nodes. Not all of our BFT protections have been built yet or fully tested yet. And so in order to make sure that this is still a useful application platform that isn't constantly being hacked, we're very thoughtful about who we let participate. But that is absolutely a temporary thing. So I wanted to talk to all of you to let you know that we understand that this vision has not been well communicated. But I also think we have a secret weapon in making sure the world understands it, and it's people like you who are attending this presentation. Our team internally has made a commitment that the way we're going to think about communicating with the world from now on is going to be communicating through you. We're going to be creating articles. We're going to be creating, video and audio content that you can point to when you're talking to people in the world. And you can say, you can go out there and if you hear somebody who is excited about a feature of a particular blockchain or an alternate platform, and you feel like Flow actually is even better than the thing that they might be excited about, you can point them to content we've created. And so I'm really looking forward to seeing how all of the people that are at this meeting and the hundreds of others who didn't join us today, but I know are absolutely a part of this Flow family, will help us get the word out, because I think Flow is by far the best blockchain for the kind of application developer that I am, for the kind of application developer that many of you are. And I think once we get that word out, people will really understand what we've created here. So thank you all for coming. I'm really excited to have you all here for this presentation, and I'll give it back to you, Andrea.
Thanks, Dete. All right, let's move forward. So hi, everyone. My name is Andrea. I'm a dev advocate on the Flow team, and I want to walk you through a little bit about the past year and what we've seen in terms of network growth. I'm going to breeze through this because we have a ton of other stuff, but high level, to date, we have 17.5 million accounts created. That's almost 5 times as much as last year. We've had 300 million transactions to date, which is 3.5 times the amount of last year. And we're also the top chain for all-time NFT transactions, topping it at 25 million. This is the highest of any chain. And if we zoom out all the way from the days that Dete was talking about, you can see that we're just getting started. There's been an inflection, and everything that's being done is compounding. And we will dissect this chart throughout the rest of this presentation by looking at different factors at what made this possible. But I think this gives you a nice glance at, okay, wow, the network is growing. It's growing steadily more and more. And not just that, the number of developers are growing. And there's a couple factors here, right? This is also something that Dete mentioned. There's a growing developer ecosystem. There's been key upgrades to the protocol, both of which we will look at in just a second. And most importantly, there's been a growing community. And who best to talk about community than Flowverse, the beating heart of the Flow community. So rather than me talking about it, I asked Nish and James from Flowverse to come on and give us a little recap of 2022 from a Flowverse perspective. So Nish and James, I'm going to hand it over to you both and take it away.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for that. And we're super excited to be here for the first ever Flow blockchain town hall. So I'm James, one of the 2 co-founders of Flowverse alongside Nish. For those that don't know Flowverse, we're a community hub and portal that you can go to and view all the fantastic projects that are building in the Flow ecosystem. So yeah, super excited to get into community growth today. So to pull up some high level numbers, active wallets on Flow is now at 5.9 million per month. This is the November figure, which represents a 33.5x increase year on year compared to the 176,000 last November. And that's sort of just, and then sort of going into the monthly transactions, we see a similar trend going from 6.9 million to 39.3 million, which is again 5.7x growth year on year. And then if we look at projects in the Flow blockchain ecosystem, there are now thousands, including some Fortune 500 companies like Meta, Google, Shopify, and a bunch of different startups that have collectively raised $4 billion plus, and that's excluding Dapper Labs from that figure. To take a quick look at some of the highlights that we've seen on Flow over the past year, we can look at highlights across gaming, sports, as well as events. In gaming, we had Dimension X with a free mint in September, which has now achieved $1.4 million in sales volume. Joyride Games has onboarded 4.4 million users to the Flow ecosystem through their Trickshot Blitz and Solitaire Blitz games. NFL All Day flipped Top Shot sales and transacting users in the NBA offseason. And then looking really close to home, kind of in the Flow community, Float grew from 0 to 422,000 users and 3.6 million NFT mints since April this year. So a big hats off to Jacob Tucker and everyone at the Emerald DAO for achieving that. Finally, Billboard Chart Stars also did a live NFT minting event for the Billboard Music Awards, which led to nearly 74,000 holders. Flow has also quite quickly become the #1 chain for sports IPs, following the success of Top Shot and NFL All Day. Sort of now a lot of large sport IPs are looking at Flow. There's been Liga that's released, UFC Strike from Dapper, and then looking at independent teams building on Flow. You also have the ICC, the AFL, MotoGP, and OneFootball, who have launched official Serie A NFTs on Flow blockchain. And this is just calling out some of the main ones. There are kind of some other big ones like the Olympics through Neway Play, and the NBL, which is Australia's top basketball league. They're also building on Flow, just to name a couple more. Now I'll hand over to Nish to continue talking with some of the event highlights of Flow this year, as well as some Flowverse metrics.
Thanks, James. My name is Nish, and I am the other co-founder of Flowverse. I want to talk about some of the partnerships and integrations that Flow had in 2022. So to begin with, Flow announced a partnership with Ticketmaster. For those who don't know, they're the largest live events company in the US, and they sell around 500 million tickets per year. There's been around 2.5 million plus active Flow users year to date off the back of that partnership. This is insane as we're just getting started. Next up, we had Instagram and Meta supporting and partnering with Flow, where now anyone can share their Flow NFTs to over 2 billion Instagram users. And Flow NFTs now have a platform and distribution to a very large audience. Then we had Dapper integrating the Flow token into its wallet. And now the Flow token can be the medium of exchange and the pillar of exchange across the entire Flow ecosystem. We also had Coinbase enabling Flow token trading on its platform. This was immense, as now the Flow token can now be purchased and traded on the largest US crypto exchange with hundreds of millions of users. And then last but not least, I wanted to highlight Mattel, who are one of the most famous toy manufacturers in the world. They're the creators of Barbie and Hot Wheels, and they've recently migrated from the Wax blockchain to Flow. They'll be releasing officially licensed Hot Wheel NFTs on Flow, and have also partnered with Cryptoys, another popular app on Flow, to digitize the Masters of the Universe brand. Next slide, please, Andre. So looking at some other Flow ecosystem stats from a Flowverse lens, we've got 71,000 Flowverse community members, and that spans across email, newsletter, Twitter, Discord, and website users. We've also tracked 453 apps building on Flow on our website. That's 2.7 times higher than last year. We've also tracked 782 Flow NFT drops, and also 465 job listings from companies building on Flow. This isn't a surprise to me after seeing the sheer amount of funds raised by the companies. So next slide, please. So we've spoken about 2022, but what are we, Flowverse, excited for in 2023? Firstly, we're super stoked about Dapper's new self-custodial wallet that's coming out. This is an opportunity to attract crypto natives to Flow and also give it users an option for full ownership of their digital assets. Next, we're super excited about Flow's progress on decentralization. We're looking forward in 2023 to see a similar and more accentuated trend in 2022, with new types of nodes releasing, the number of nodes and delegators increasing on Flow as well over time. We're also excited about Flow's focus on mobile accessibility, as we believe there's going to be a large area of opportunity to put a crypto wallet in the pockets of billions of people with this approach. We're also looking forward to more exciting partnerships in sports, media, and gaming industries, as we believe that these industries are super ripe for disruption and innovation via blockchain tech. We also want to see continued development of core primitives and infrastructure on Flow, as well as fungible token liquidity for the community. Lastly, we want simple and fun gaming experiences developed on Flow. We've seen the success of Dimension X, and we believe a breakout Web3 game on Flow can significantly increase the number of daily active users on Flow overnight. Thanks, Andre.
Thanks, Nish. Thanks, James. And we're going to see a lot more about that gaming side later on. But first, let's take a look at the developer growth and everything that's been happening on the builder side of Flow. So I'm going to hand it over to Alex, Director of Product of Developer Experience here at Flow. Alex, why don't you take it away?
Awesome. Thank you very much, Andrea. And thanks to Nish for the overview of community development and what's happening there. So let's talk about developer growth. This year was a really big year for Flow builders, as measured by any kind of developer activity. So let's take a closer look. Next slide. Just within 1 year, we have 630,000 downloads for the FCL library. FCL library is one of the central libraries used for development of Flow applications. And that number is just massive. So if we look at the next number, we will see that we had 11,000 developers continuing to deploy and deploy contracts on the testnet. Overall, in the last year, we received 20,000 contracts on the testnet, which is a massive, massive increase of 250%. Way to go, community. Last but not least, if we move it over from testnet to production, we had over 2,000 contracts deployed on mainnet, which is again over 300% of growth year over year. Now, keep in mind, this is only since the launch of permissionless deployment, so rolled out half a year ago, which means that growth will increase and you'll see much, much more increase over the next year. Now, developer growth is not just measured by numbers, of course. Developer growth is success building on Flow. It means success building apps, success building contracts, success in launching your apps and acquiring users, and making money or raising money to ensure that your business is growing. Now, the developer tools and services are helping you along the way. So I want to make sure that we cover some of the key highlights we rolled out in the last year to demonstrate how we're supporting our developers in being successful on Flow. So the first one is a big one. Our developer portal was just launched a couple of months ago. The developer portal really brings together all documentation from all different projects on Flow and creates a single landing page for developers. It covers pretty much any Flow project that you can imagine, and everybody can contribute to it in a very decentralized fashion. Now, developers can now, or tool builders can now be discovered. They can put their documentation out there, and they have access to pretty much any developer who is starting to build on Flow. Since our launch of the developer portal, we have seen a 10-fold increase in user base, which is pretty massive. And if you have not seen the developer portal just yet yourself, please take a look. It's beautiful. Next up is FCL. I already mentioned the impressive download numbers of FCL. It's really hard to believe that we've rolled out FCL just this year. The major version bump came with major improvements to the protocol used, a discovery mechanism to enable users to select the wallet of choice, and also support for Wallet Connect in order to have more mobile experiences and mobile applications built. Now, not only that, we also have 4 more new wallets that were onboarded on Flow and are available to all of the users and effectively all developers. Now, all of this together means that FCL is available on more environments, and it really makes Flow much, much simpler to integrate with just a couple of lines of code. One of the biggest challenges to mainstream adoption to Web3 is making users comfortable with the concepts of Web3, as we all know. Users prompted with signing requests will have no good understanding of what they're asked or why they're being asked something. Now imagine if wallets would show a human readable explanation of what they're about to approve. Now this is human readable security, and we've rolled this out just a couple of months ago as well. We've rolled out a flip and added tooling to make this available to all wallets. Soon we will also make it easier to generate these human readable messages, and we'll have community run instances of auditing services. These auditing services are important so that the verification of the human readable message is happening, and we cross-pollinate and make sure that the implementation of the contracts are actually reflecting the message. Next slide. Switching gears for a little bit, as you all know, we're pretty damn good at NFTs. In 2022, we've raised the bar for NFT creators, and we released an NFT metadata standards so that any builder can read all NFT related data. For wallets, that means they have access and can show all details for the NFT collections owned by users. Storing this metadata in a very Web3 native way requires on-chain implementation, and we have created just that with the NFT catalog. With that, any creator can submit their new NFT collection and metadata details listed on-chain for everyone else to see. Now, as of today, we have close to 100 projects listed on the mainnet, which is pretty exciting. Pushing interoperability even further, we've released what we call Storefront version 2. It's an on-chain marketplace for NFT listings that can be consumed by any NFT marketplace. Now, any NFT listed in one marketplace can now be available on all marketplaces that support Flow. That's a huge value add because your listings are now discoverable in the whole Flow universe. To wrap up, these are only a few highlights. Combined, we've introduced tools and services to make your projects move faster to production, make them more interoperable, and make them more user-friendly. With that, I'll hand over to Chris to talk about some of the amazing projects you have been building on as part of the grants program.
Thanks, Alex. We can go to the next slide. So Developer Grants Program supports the ecosystem of developers. We provide funding for projects that address pain points in the ecosystem, really around developer tools, open source maintenance, educational resources. And we recently published an end-of-the-year recap on the developer blog, so I encourage you to check that out, where we've highlighted all the great projects that we funded thus far. But just to recap some numbers here, we've received 90 proposals so far, so far this year. 35 of those have been accepted, and we've completed 69 milestones against those projects. So seeing a lot of great progress from the community building against these grants. Just to highlight a few of the projects that you may have used, we have Flowser's integration with CLI, which I know the Flowser team is going to be talking a little bit later. iOS and Android SDKs from Outblock have been really essential towards mobile development on Flow. We've Overflow from Bjarte, .NET SDK from Tyron. So a lot of these great projects being built by the community. We've also extended grants to produce educational material. So partnerships with BuildSpace, Learn Web3, Emerald Academy has done some great work in running boot camps, courses, and on-chain certificates to really help grow the amount of developers in the ecosystem. Next slide, please. So how can you get involved? We run our program on GitHub. So all the proposals are visible for the community to review, provide feedback on, submit your own. A few things that you could specifically do if you do want to get involved. One is review our wish list items. We have things noted there that are needed for the community. If you want to jump in and try to build one of those, submit a proposal and we'll review it and get back to you and hopefully fund that. You could submit a wish list item. So if you have a gap that you've identified that you'd love to see someone build and solve for the community, submit a wish list item and someone could pick that up and help build that and solve that. And also you could review proposals. We have these on GitHub. You can comment, you can ask questions, you could help shape them as well. And these are all areas that we'd love your participation because everyone has a good sense for what's needed and how to help build these solutions. With that, I'm going to turn it back to Andrea.
Thanks, Chris. So we've talked about we've talked about the ecosystem. We've talked about developers. Now let's take a look at all of the technology that's powering Flow and is sustaining all of this growth and is allowing for all of these projects to scale and will continue to allow projects to go bigger and bigger and to onboard the next billion people to Web3. So let's start with Cadence. Cadence is a smart contract programming language that powers Flow. And Jan is going to tell us all about the key achievements from 2022. Jan, please take it away.
Hi, everyone. I'd like to start with a bit of history. As you may know, and Dete mentioned this, our story starts with CryptoKitties, which is a mainstream dApp we built on Ethereum, and it pretty much brought Ethereum to halt. It quickly became obvious to us that we need better network and smart contract programming language than Solidity if we want to build complex dApps like that and more in the future. We decided to build language that is designed from the ground up to work with digital assets and that is purpose-built for Web3. So yeah, let's do a quick recap of 3 main benefits that Cadence offers to smart contract developers. First of all, the features we built into Cadence offer unparalleled security and safety. What that means is that the developers can focus on business logic instead of preventing accidents and attacks. Second, we designed Cadence to make it very easy to build on top of existing code on chain, and that's what composability is about. It is enabled by resources which can freely move between the contracts and other attributes of Flow and Cadence that we don't have time to talk about here. But if you want to know more, please go and have a look at the Flow Developer Portal. The link is at the bottom of the slide. Finally, simplicity. Cadence is built on, it's based on modern programming languages and their syntax, and that makes it easy for developers to start writing Cadence and be very productive in a short amount of time and build production quality contracts. Let's look at at what we did last year. Our major goal was to enable permissionless smart contract deployments, and that was unblocked by Secure Cadence release. Work on it started towards the end of last year and included a number of important deliverables, like variable transaction fees, which is a key incentive mechanism for fair computation usage. We built memory usage metering and limiting, which is protection against memory exhaustion attacks. We also built layer of defensive checks, which is detecting resource duplication. We refactored error handling all over Cadence to prevent crashes of execution nodes. We improved test coverage by automated fuzzing. We also did 2 security audits performed by 2 external auditors, and bug bounty program, penetration testing environment that we created was used by the community to easily and safely test the Cadence pre-release. And through all this, we found and fixed about 10 security vulnerabilities. And to make it easier for community to upgrade their contracts, we also built tooling to help them detect breaking changes and make that effective. All this led to Secure Cadence release on mainnet on the June 15th, as we planned. And then shortly after, we enabled permissionless contract deployments on July 5th. But that's not all we did last year. We did more with contributions from the wider Flow community, which we are very grateful for. We built over 40 Cadence features and improvements. To highlight a few, we added storage querying API, which makes it easy to search account storage. This was a big pain point for developers on Flow. We added syntax and checks for immutable values and functions, which increases safety for developers because it makes it clearer which functions have side effects. We also added API for bootstrapping capabilities. So it's now possible to share resource capabilities with specific users in very easy and safe way. And default implementation for interface methods is a feature which makes it possible to update interfaces in a backwards compatible way. And we also added a number of standard utility functions and REPL improvements and more features that we don't have time to talk about here. I also wanted to mention a couple tools that we built. Cadence testing framework. It's now possible to test Cadence using Cadence for the first time, and we built Cadence linter for static code analysis. To complete the Cadence 2022 story, I want to mention a couple more things. We delivered about 30 changes that improved Cadence performance, This was a major contributor to the overall transaction throughput increase that we did this year. You will hear more about this a little bit later. Last point to mention, with the community contributions, we accepted 10 flow improvement proposals related to Cadence. For example, we accepted resource attachments, which makes it very easy to build new use cases by extending existing resource functionality. For example, like implementing accessories for CryptoKitties. That covers what I wanted to talk about, and I'll hand over to Alex.
Hello, everyone. My name is Alex Henschel, and I'm Flow's Chief Protocol Architect. And so I would like to talk you through some of the improvements and innovations we did last year, or as well this year in Flow. Next slide, please. So, I mean, the way I generally like to describe Flow is as a general computation platform. It's globally distributed, and it's designed to handle a lot of computation. And so that means that we're continuously working on improving the number of transactions the system can handle. This year, we improved it by 10, by a factor of 10. This was achieved by a variety of optimizations across the board. So there were heavy cadence optimizations. Jan already talked about a few. We heavily optimized the Flow virtual machine and also the state trie. That is the part of the system which holds the execution state and generates proofs for everyone to just show correctness of the state and state transitions. All right, next slide, please. So another thing we did earlier this year around February was that we optimized the consensus algorithm. In its earlier version, the consensus votes were processed sequentially one by one and validated sequentially one by one. And cryptographic validation of consensus nodes is consensus votes is probably one of the most compute intensive operations a consensus node would do. And that slowed down kept the consensus algorithm relatively slow. So now we've improved that and moved to a fully concurrent consensus vote processing, which has resulted in a 60% increase of blocks being produced per minute, and also significantly reduced the time to finality accordingly by 60%. So at the moment, Flow processes about 1 million transactions on an average day. So let's go to the next slide, please. And so the important part here is that the system is just generally available, right? It's a computation platform, and for your dApp to run smoothly and for you as a user to use the computation platform smoothly, it needs to be up, right? So availability is one of our big goals. We've been investing a lot of work into this goal and significantly improved over this year. So there are a few aspects which I would like to talk on, or touch on. So one aspect is our sporks, right? So Flow does upgrade the network relatively differently than most other networks. So what we do is we do essentially a hard break or hard stop, deploy a new software version and reboot the network. That's what we call a spork. The benefits of that is it significantly reduces software complexity, right? You don't have to worry about downwards compatibility. And what that gets for you as a user is a significantly reduced likelihood of software bugs and vulnerabilities, essentially making the network more secure, right? The other aspect it gains us or gains everyone is that it allows Flow to evolve rapidly, right? Having less complexity for the engineers to worry about means that they can ship more innovations. But as the network matures, our need for sort of large breaking changes becomes fewer and fewer. And so this year we did 5 sporks only versus 11 sporks last year. So that's like a reduction by half or more than half. We also significantly invested engineering time into reducing the amount the network is down during the spork. So at the end of this year, our last spork was 90 minutes long. It's further going to go down next year significantly versus 4 hours at the last year. So our sporks got 3 times faster. And then we also invested into the network resiliency. to handle overload scenarios and heavy load spikes, which we achieved through isolating the processing components within a node, so that if one component gets overwhelmed, it just doesn't hog all the resources from the entire node, and thereby other components would be slowed down. So we've completely isolated all those data processing components within the node, added queuing systems and prioritization to that, so that the vital systems of the within a node keep running despite heavy load, despite potential attacks from malicious actors. All right, next slide, please. Yeah, and as Dete already mentioned, we have a strong commitment to making Flow entirely decentralized. That means permissionless node operations, right? That is not quite the case yet, but we're continuously laying the foundations here and working towards this goal. Yeah, and so that essentially means that the software has to deal with arbitrary malicious attacks from any arbitrary node, right, within the network. We call those malicious nodes Byzantine nodes. And so this year we've shipped a variety of frameworks to cover essentially basic attacks across the network. So one basic attack is message level attacks, that one node, a malicious node, just sends a malformed message to a different node, right? And the different node receiving that message has to handle that message gracefully. Another very common attack is impersonation attack. So one node pretends to be of either of a different type, node role, as in Flow, or just to be a different node. And this also needs to be prevented for the network to be secure. We've put in frameworks to handle those, and those frameworks allowed us to, or it unlocks the permissionless access nodes, which are going to come in 2023. The other aspect of a computation platform is, so something is happening in the computation platform, but you want to know what did happen in the computation platform, so you want to get the data out, right? And scalability of data egress is super important. And this is our answer to this challenge of scalability of data egress, is that we added 2 new permissionless node types, which essentially live at the boundary of the network. So that is the archival and the observer node. Both can be run by anyone. They're currently in early beta state. And so the archival node will essentially just record everything, all the computation changes, or the changes of the state that have happened throughout the blocks. So it in a trustless fashion receives all the data, and it's optimized for data queries and indexing, and in the future can also locally do script execution. That means if you have a cadence script which inspects the state, you can run that on an archival node and get your answer and run as many of those scripts as you want, and that entire sort of network of archival nodes can scale horizontally. So anyone can spin one up if they have a lot of need to query the state, index the data, what has happened on the blockchain. The other one is the observer node. That's kind of a little bit of a scaled down version of the archival node that locally only validates consensus, but it allows you to route a lot of those queries, state queries, to other nodes, and at least you're sure that the consensus progress, sort of the most vital aspect of the entire protocol, that has been executed truthfully. Okay, great. Next slide, please. So with this, I will hand it over to Chirag. Chirag is our general manager of Flow, and he will talk to you a little bit what will be coming up next year. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Alex. Hi all, Chirag Narang here. It's really amazing to see how much innovation has compounded this year across the ecosystem. But I'm even more excited about Flow's future direction. Next slide, please. Click on the next slide. So one of Flow's biggest strength is mainstream focus. We want to double down, and we want to double down on these capabilities moving forward. The real promise of Web3 is not going to be realized if we can't really bring masses into this experience. Right now, the current ecosystem is just working towards acquiring users who really know about on what it really is, what a blockchain is, but we really have to bring this technology to masses. So going into 2023, we have 3 different initiatives which are going to be focused on mainstream adoption. First one is progressive onboarding, which is to meet users where they are in the journey of Web3. Second is bringing mobile first to every pocket. And third, eliminating any platform risk, fostering more trust, and unlocking new experiences with service-less architecture. Next slide, please. Progressive user onboarding. One of the biggest blocker to Web3 adoption is just a jarring first-time user experience, which creates a huge barrier for anyone to enter. For most of the new users today, the crypto scene can feel like a bit like the wild, wild west. And there are a lot of situations where users are uncertain on how to interact, they lack trust and security in the services they are using. And it has just been amplified with the recent happenings in the crypto world. While we believe the self-custody is perhaps the single most important feature of Web3, but in reality, the next billion blockchain users don't have self-custodial wallets yet. To make it easier, we'll introduce tooling for developers to onboard users with walletless onboarding, so users can get immediate value. You'll be able to onboard via emails, social identities, then use fiat on-ramps, Stripe payments, and in-app purchases on mobile for payments. Now, some of you might be wondering, yeah, this is possible today. Dapper Wallet actually helps you to get there. But we are actually going to take it a step further. When these users are ready in the journey of progressive onboarding, they'll be able to seamlessly upgrade to self-custody and take custody of those assets without creating a walled garden of those assets within those tabs. Next slide, please. Mobile first, bringing flow to every pocket. Today, mobile accounts for 60% of internet traffic, but building mobile experiences on Web3 is hard. The tooling is unclear. On top of that, App Store guidelines are really tricky. And when it comes to the user experience of a non-custodial wallet on mobile, it's not intuitive. It has so many friction points, what we just talked on the previous slide. For signing transactions, users have to switch between a wallet and app for frequent authentication prompts. While it makes sense for any financial transaction that you are prompted for a signature, but many of the transactions, for example, like you're playing a chess game, you should not be switching between apps. So for mobile to be successful, we have to create a seamless signing experience for non-custodial wallets. And with the custodial onboarding, for custodial onboarding users, you don't deal with keys of transaction signing. It's more user-friendly, but it creates a walled garden where assets are logged in that app without any portability. So we are excited that we'll be providing tooling for developers, so you don't have to trade the best-in-class user experience, security, and portability. A lot of exciting development in areas including account abstraction, their child-parent account model, which will be based on Cadence capability-based model that will allow you to port your assets. And then there'll be multi-platform SDKs for iOS and Android, which have baked in Wallet Connect library with FCL and Lighthouse examples on how to build Web3 native applications on mobile. Next slide, please. So the old way of building software was you rent a bunch of VMs from big cloud providers, you custom install some boot images on them, and then you run services on them. And that creates that platform risk that you are betting your business on a platform. Then came the serverless way. Now you don't have to worry about the infrastructure. You scale your infrastructure based on the load, but still that platform dependency was always there. Now there is a new paradigm that we are introducing. With Flow's unique account model, Cadence smart contract language, now you can build applications with a service-less architecture. You can write your API services, computation logic, excuse me, as a series of smart contracts, transactions, scripts, and client code. The smart contracts and transactions can now run on the blockchain. The scripts can run on access nodes. And imagine your client code now be created as a hash and can run on IPFS. So this truly eliminates any dependencies from all the way from front end to back end. And then you can build applications with a serviceless architecture. That offers you more trust. Applications can live forever and also provides you opportunities to compose new experiences on top. Now with that, let's dive into the foundation for Flow, the core protocol. We have series of initiatives planned across the entire core protocol. Let's start with stable cadence. Next slide, please. Jan talked about the evolution of Cadence as a language, permissionless smart contract deployment, which was unlocked earlier this year. but we are excited that we are taking a massive leap and we are moving to the first stable version of Cadence. This will really unlock the real promise of building on blockchain, which is you write your code once, you build once, and you run forever. There'll be no more breaking changes. With this process, Cadence will achieve feature completeness. The core smart contracts will be sufficiently battle tested, and the economics of the system will be sufficiently understood to provide long-term support. So now as a developer, you can be confident that you can write a smart contract that won't have to suffer from any more breaking changes. Next slide, please. Faster and fewer spokes. We heard you loud and clear. Flow ecosystem has been requesting for faster and fewer spokes. Ultimate goal for the mature protocol is to be spokeless. Alex talked about that. We are adopting some novel approaches in 2023 through block height coordinated protocol upgrade. Will reduce the length of every spoke to under 30 minutes. And also the spoke frequency will be reduced to every quarter. Reducing the frequency can sometimes slow down the pace of innovation, but that's not our intent. We'll make sure through frequent rolling upgrades, Flow Network is bringing exciting features to the market at a pace so the developers can enjoy new features at a good pace. Next slide, please. Performance improvements. We've been talking about performance for a long time. Alex talked about on how we have seen 10x improvements on our throughput, but there's still more we can explore. Currently, transaction execution is implemented using a tree walking interpreter. Cadence team is evaluating opportunities to move a compiler-based model, which can unlock performance by a magnitude above current levels. There is parallel execution of transactions in the execution node, which will also help with the storage scalability and state growth. And finally, there are some hotspots and flow storage around unique identifier and transaction feed that can also address some of the scalability challenges. Next slide, please. Permissionless, progressive decentralization. The ultimate goal for a mature protocol is to be fully permissionless for all node types so that any node participant can participate in the security of the network. But this will be a stepwise process. With the launch of observer nodes and archival nodes, we have unlocked participation rights for everyone. But I'm extremely excited to announce that soon we'll be making the first staked node, protocol conforming node, permissionless in early 2023. The permissionless node operations for a staked access node will need a new operator selection algorithm that is transparent to the community, and it will also come in with DFT protections. Next slide, please. Improved data retrievability. At the moment, Flow protocol does not specify any means for permanently storing all of the execution state that it comes over a period of time, right? Amount of data is too large, and it's not economically viable for anyone to run a full archival node. So 2023 will be introducing some novel approaches so archival node can run on consumer grade hardware. And on top of that, there'll be an indexer service which can subscribe to those events. And now developers can build indexes for accounts, smart contracts that they're really interested in. This will simplify development needs for applications that have ETL and any analytical needs. While I know this is a lot, I shared a glimpse of what you can expect that's coming next year. But there is a collaborative plan which is being executed by contributors across the world. And for the first time in the history of Flow, the team is excited to release blueprints of our ecosystem priorities. This document here, as you can see, the link is over there, will always be a work in progress. We want to make this information more accessible and organized so we can reduce the threshold to contribution and also be very transparent what initiatives different teams are working on. At that, I'll close out. Thank you so much. And I'll hand it back to Andrea.
Thanks, Chirag. We've spent a lot of time looking back and a little bit of looking forward. Now let's dive into and see some examples. We've lined up 3 showcases today. The first showcase is meant to walk you through the Emerald City DAO. So I've asked Jacob to come on, and the reason I've asked Jacob to speak about the Emerald City ecosystem is because most of their tools and services are completely on chain. So they are really embodying the philosophy of, hey, Flow is a general purpose computing platform, like Alex was saying earlier, and by being on chain, everything can work in an interconnected fashion and compose on top of each other. So I'll hand it over to Jacob to explain things a little more. Jacob, the floor is yours.
All right, I think it's my time to shine. And yes, we are amazing like that. We have a lot of on-chain products. So yeah, next slide, please. And I'll just walk you through some of the stuff we've done in the past year. It's crazy, it's already been a year, but just to keep it short, one of the big things we love to do is education here in Emerald City. And just want to call this out for any of you that, were listening to the slides today, all the presenters, and wanted to learn more about Cadence and building on Flow. We would love to help you inside of Emerald Academy. And, talking about a lot of our products and tools, Float is actually something that you're going to be receiving at the end of this presentation. And that's something that we built in April. And we saw tremendous success with that and super happy that that is doing well. And a ton of other stuff here like Emerald Bot that helps you verify your assets in Discord. Touchstone, which is like an NFT collection generator, Drizzle, an airdropping tool for NFTs and fungible tokens, and then Link and FlowView, which are both sort of developer tooling to help you develop on the Flow blockchain. And then also Shield here, which is a service we run to help audit transactions and contracts on the Flow blockchain. So even though this seems like a bit of a shill, it is really meant to show you that there's a lot of active development happening in the Flow ecosystem, and even more importantly, all of these products and in fact the education and Shield here, they're all community driven. So it's not just a few people that are building products. It really is a whole wide variety of developers that are coming together and building these tools. And so yeah, next slide. Yeah, so like Andrea was saying, the Emerald City ecosystem is on-chain and composable. So in fact, for all of our products, except I guess Emerald Bot, there's no real backend. It's all on-chain using Cadence and the power of the Flow blockchain. And this is great because it allows a lot of our products to tie together. So for example, Drizzle, which is our airdropping tool, allows you to, gate whether or not someone has a float, and same with our NFT collection generator. And our Emerald Bot, can verify floats in Discord. So all that is to say that there's a lot of, interoperability between our products, and it also allows community members to build stuff on top of them. So, we've seen a ton of community members in Emerald City, for example, building on top of our products because it is all on chain. And, if you're interested in building out some of these products, we have a lot of builder clubs inside of Emerald City that love to, build a ton of products and have a lot of fun. So yeah, that's on the product side. Now, one thing I want to call out is Flix integration. So Flix is this awesome thing that the Flow team is sort of leading the charge on, where people can, I guess, communities per se can actually integrate with Flix to start auditing transactions on Flow. And so we're very happy and very proud to be the first community verifier for Flix, which means that essentially we're going to be verifying transactions on Flow. So this is going to allow you as community members to feel more safe, but also if you want to get involved, we would love to have you help audit transactions on Flow to help users feel more safe when they're running transactions. So here's a sample screenshot using Lilyco. Round of applause to Hao and Lilyco for integrating this already. But it shows verified by Emerald City right on there so that you can feel more safe when you're running this transaction. So yeah, there's a little bit about Flix. And what's coming next? We have a few things. One is Project Toucans, a platform to help found your own DAO and create your own fungible token. This is going to help people, sort of like a no-code fungible token generator. Firefly, which is sort of like a Stripe for Flow, where you can, integrate payments directly onto your platform with no coding involved. And then Memento, which actually is super exciting because Andrea and I are, leading a build from scratch series where we are basically building a Web3 publishing platform out in the open in public every single week on Tuesday at 11 a.m. Eastern, where we basically are showing community members how to build a production level dApp from scratch. So if you're interested in learning how to build on Flow, that's a great way to get involved. And I think that's all I wanted to say for today. So yeah, thanks for having me, and I hope that excited you a little bit.
Thanks, Jacob. Absolutely. All right. The next demo, which might have to be live, I'm not sure, is Monster Maker. I'll leave it to Hao to explain what it is and to show you through it. Hao, is there a video on the slide, or do you want to do it live?
Yeah, I think I upload the video in there. So next slide, you have that.
Let me, I might need to, okay, yes. Let's, oops, 1 second. All right, let me share the video.
My name is Hal. So today I'm
Can-
just going to demonstrate you about Monster Makers.
Can everyone hear it?
So Monster Maker is a special app that shows you how to build mobile apps on Flow. So let's see how that works. In the right hand side, that's my phones, and once you open the apps, you're gonna have like connect buttons on the bottoms. Once you click on that, that's gonna be the native discovery. Here I'm gonna choosing Dapper self custody as the examples. So when I choose on that, that's gonna be open my Dapper wallet account, and let's just make the connections on that. So okay, so once we click on connect, that's gonna be navigate me back to the monsters. So before we can create any monsters, we have initializing that NFT collection first. So click on the connections, initializations, and let's just do the confirmation on that. And if you can see in the top left corners, that you will see a spinner, and that spinner will demonstrate you about the transaction state. So right now that's in pendings. We have waiting for that to be confirmed before we can make any monsters. And yeah, so that's one was being confirmed. Like just making some monsters. There were like 4 parts of monster you can change. You can change the head, you can change the torso, and also can change the legs, and also change the background as well. And this looks great. Let's click on mint. And for the mint, we can yeah, we can just navigate to the wallet to fetch the authorizations. And in the second tab, that's going to be show the list of the monster. Seems now we don't have any monster in here, and that monster is empty. That's why it's dumb. When we going back to list again, we're going to show the monster we just created, and you can share that out. And at the meantime, you can also good things for the mobile is like you don't need to connect to the wallet every time. Once you connect that once, and next time we open that, that's just gonna be work automatically, and gonna navigate you to the wallet to make the connections. And also we are also supporting different type of wallet. The Wallet Connect is one type of wallet. Right now, the Dapper self-custody analytical was using, but also we are supporting Blockto with the HTTP post. So the experience is a bit different, but it's kind of similar. Here you will see web pages to make the connections and sign the transactions, and you can see the list of NFTs that we already have in here. And that's the mobile experiences we have. But also I want to show you about the Monster Makers in the web versions, what we built. So in the web versions, since we're adding the Wallet Connect in here, so when you click on that, any wallet right now compatible with Wallet Connect, you can scan that QR code, you can make the connections, and also as you can see, that's the 2 monster we just created, and let's just create the 3rd one for that, and click on mint, and our wallet should be getting a request to sign for that. And also since the Monster Maker is also using NFT catalog, and you can see that in the wallet as well. Cool. And we have like 3 monster now. Let me just refresh the wallet, and you will see there's like 3 monster in here. And let's talking about like a bit about the SDK side. So right now the mobile SDK, we are using FCL Swift on that, and FCL Swift was built by Outblock team, and that's basically that's cover everything what you have for the FCLs to interaction with the chain. And also the API is quite similar as well. You can have FCL config, FCL's query, and FCL's mutate. So if you know FCL.js before, it's very similar to moving that into mobile using this SDK. And at meantime, the Monster Makers, we're going to open source that very soon with our iOS client, what you see in here. But also we're going to open source our APIs, our web client, that what you have seen. And yeah, I'm just very excited and about the moving Flow in one. My name is Hao. So today I'm just going to demonstrate you about monster makers.
Thanks, Hao. Is there anything else that you wanted to add since you're also here live?
Yeah, I think there was one last sentences. I'm very excited about bringing Flow to mobile because right now we know everyone was using mobile on a daily basis, and we would like to see everyone can start using on that, like moving like Flow into the mainstream focused, and like very excited to see what kind of new product gonna happen in the ecosystem on mobile. Yeah.
Thanks, Hao. And if anyone has any questions, Hao is someone who never sleeps, right? You're always online, so reach out to him on Discord, and he'll be happy to answer questions. It's crazy. I've never seen him offline. All right.
My name is Hao.
Next showcase we have is Flowser, a development tool, and I will let Monica and Bart, they prepared a short video as well, walking you through it. And if there's any other things that you guys want to add, either during the video or after, feel free. So I will let them showcase this awesome development tool, which is now embedded in the Flow CLI.
Today I'm going to do a quick demo of Flowser and show you how it can be used with Flow CLI. For this demo, I'm just going to use the Flow NFT project from Flow. So I already cloned that project locally, and all I gotta do now is type flow Flowser, which will start the Flowser application, and Flowser will take care of the rest. Flowser already started the Flow emulator and dev wallet services, so you don't even need to worry about that. And as you can see, this is the current state of our local blockchain. And there are no transactions yet, so let's create some. I will just trigger the setup account transaction to set up our service account, but that transaction failed, as you can see here. And the reason for that is we forgot to deploy our project. So let's do that and try again. Awesome, this succeeded. So now let's actually mint an example NFT. All right, here is the transaction. Transaction succeeded. You can see some details here. As you can see the arguments that I used here in the CLI, the transaction code itself, and so on. And if you go to the proposal account that was used, you can also see that under the storage tab, you can see the example NFT collection that I just used. And if you click here, you can see the data that's actually stored in that collection. So yeah. And here you can see the transactions that I just triggered, the contracts that I used, and so on. So that was just a quick overview of some of the features that Flowser offers. There are other cool things, like you can use the dev wallet right from Flowser. You can also create snapshots and see events and other cool stuff like that. So yeah, if you like the project, please go on, check out Flowser at Flowser.
Yeah, if the project is on Flowser/Flowser, and as you saw, it's a great tool for local development and more. Basically, to have a GUI where you can inspect all things that are happening on the actual chain, such as events, blocks, and accounts. Monica or Bart, do you guys have anything else that you wanted to add apart from the demo?
Yeah, sure. Hi, everybody. My name is Monica. I'm a designer at Flowser and a person behind our own Flowser Twitter account. So I'm the one who we are chatting on Twitter. Maybe I would just like to add that it really was an amazing year for Flowser team. We are very grateful for Flow Developer Grant Program, which enable us to bring Flowser to the next level. In last half of year, we came from website app to a standalone app, and most recently integrated into Flow CLI. We are constantly maintaining Flowser and updating it with new features. We're also growing in terms of users on a daily basis, and this really sends a great message to us. We also appreciate all the feedback from the community, so we can gradually build even more powerful tool in the future.
Thanks, Monica. All right. Well, this wraps up this first town hall. It wouldn't be a Flow event without a float to go with it. So while before you go, make sure that you claim your participation float. While you do that, I just want to say a massive thank you to everyone, both everyone who joined and listened in, as well as the speakers who, for some of you, it's incredibly late or maybe incredibly early. Thank you so much for making the time to come and speak and share everything that's been done about Flow. We covered a lot. So if you missed anything or you wish that you could, roll back time and watch a piece again, don't worry, you will be able to. We will publish this on YouTube, and we will also send out a recap blog post and a recap email with everything that we covered. And so don't worry if you missed any links. You will be able to kind of read up on it. So yeah, thank you everyone again. Make sure that you claim your float. Let me send it in the chat right now to make it easier for everyone if you don't like QR codes. 1 second. Claim your float. And lastly, right before we end, I just wanted to remind everyone that these town halls will happen monthly. The next one will be on February 1st. And starting from the next one, they will not be a end of year, looking back so much type of event. We will do it probably quarterly or at the end of next year. But the monthly town halls are really just a time to set the rhythm for what we're going to be doing, so that we can share any key updates. We can, people who join in know how to get involved for what's happening the upcoming month. And in general, just have a place and a time for everyone to get together and share knowledge. So if you're interested in presenting in the next town hall, you have a project you want to share, you have a piece of technology that you're working on and you really want to talk about it, please reach out to me. I'm always available. You can find me on the Flow Discord, andrea.find, and I will make sure that we can find room, whether it be the next town hall, the one after, but this is really meant to be a community event. So with that, we're already over time. So thanks everyone for staying a little extra. Remember to claim your float. If you're not following Twitter, if you're not following Flow on Twitter yet, make sure that you follow us, Flow Blockchain, and definitely join the Flow Discord if you haven't already. This is where all of the conversation and interesting developer conversations especially happen. So see you there, and see you in the next town hall. Thanks everyone.
Thanks everyone. Cheers. Bye.
Bye-bye.